Huge news for Florida State as there is a flip from the West Coast to the Knoll Coast. That's right. We even got props here on Warchant TV. Alongside Michael Langston, the senior recruiting analyst for Warchant.com and Warchant TV. My name is Tom Lang, and you see it there. Four-star offensive lineman Manasse Itete has flipped from USC to Florida State. And yes, we are still counting this as a flip because it was on Friday that Manasse decommitted from USC, but we all know the reason he did so. It was because he knew that it's time to turn around and say yes to Florida State. So, Michael, this is a bombshell.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's one that they were very active with. They stayed contact with Manasse from the start, and that was the guy that people remember back in the spring. He was close to committing to FSU after visiting for the spring game. Then took a USC official. USC's got a lot to offer, especially for international prospects, and certainly that attracted him. But I think as it went on, that probably wore down some. And then that relationship with Atkins and what Atkins does development wise, I think really resonated and stuck with him. But in the end, it was really just a comfort level with the program itself, both with Atkins and Norvell, and just how he would fit into there, and how they know they can bring him along at their own pace as far as the development. They've shown that with Jalen Early, Julian Armella, guys like that. Excuse me, but and then I think he felt like, man, this system is just a place I fit, and so I think that's what kind of led to the spatula flip there.
There it is. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for calling attention back to that. Let's get to the footage here and talk about Manasse, who, again, you're right, international prospect, originally from Democratic Republic of Congo, lives out in California, but the relationships are formed for Florida State. I got to imagine, too, Michael, West Coast Derek Ray, that sounds like something that
Right.
he might be involved in as well. But this is a player who can play what on the offensive line?
Multiple spots, a very versatile guy. You watch a lot of his clips. It's tackle. I think he tackles probably where I sense him. Probably, I mean, I don't know what position as far as the tackle, but I think tackle is the place that I see the most consistent with. A lot of right tackle, but I think he could be an interior guy. I think it's just a situation where when he gets there, I think they'll kind of figure it out. But on paper, going in, I think tackle's been the position that's mentioned to me frequently with ITT, and I think overall this was a guy that FSU loves for what he's going to be, not what you always see on these clips. Like there's a
Mhm.
lot of stuff that you want to clean up that's fairly raw in the sense of hand placement
Yep.
and things to do that. But the power, the speed, the skill, it's definitely there. And it's up to Atkins to just bring it all out and put it all together. And I think he's a guy that they love. The way he blocks, the way he gets on blocks, the way he jumps on blocks. But there's also stuff they want to clean up with the hand technique and the footwork and the foot placement, foot stance, and a lot of stuff that you can fix, and a lot of things that even the guys that I mentioned earlier, like Jalen Early and Julian Armello, those guys had to clean up that stuff too. So I think kind of a similar mold to those guys in recruitment where top talent, but you have to mold some things. So probably a year, and then we're going to be talking about him.
Yeah, exactly, Michael. I looked up online. There's a video that talks about it's from his own high school. How he was discovered on the basketball courts, and they said you could be a real fit for football. He falls in love with the sport after making his way to the football field. This reminds me kind of eerily of a Bjorn Werner type story. I remember there was something similar to those circumstances in the Northeast where he kind of found football by happenstance. He falls in love with it. But Michael, Bjorn Werner was a 3-star, if I recall correctly. So the
Right.
recruiting services see enough in his raw ability to say, "Oh yeah, he's still got refinement to come, but the tools are just off the charts."
Yeah, I mean, just look at that play where he's chasing down the guy downfield. That tells you about his athletic ability. He's got really good speed when he hits the second level with blocks. The main thing is just fixing the hand, the technique stuff. And I think the skill is there, the athleticism is there, the want to, the motor, the push, the fire. I mean, the motor. He showed that on that play where he chased down that guy. So motor's not going to be a problem. I think it's mainly just fixing some things technique wise that uh, and I think that's what a lot of people see in him, why he's a 4-star, because of what he can do from a skill set that once you fine tune those things. And the same thing with Warner, where he didn't know a lot of what he was doing. You say, go get
Yeah.
the quarterback. And Jan's like, okay. and but he didn't know how he was getting it. He just got there on pure ability, and I think that's what this kid does. A lot of his skills is just very athletic. Does a lot of things with, what natural things that you can control, like finishing the block and athleticism and just jumping on the play immediately. He does really good at the initial block. It's just sustaining what he's doing is where you see the struggles and where you see the rawness, where you can really fix that with certainly a guy like Alex Atkins.
Another guy, Michael, with immense speed. You can see that in his pursuit, and you've already cited a couple of examples, but that tape has a ton of it when he plays on the defensive side of the ball. Just thinking about how Florida State can get him on the move, you can see why Alex Atkins is very interested in this prospect. Last time we talked about the offensive line, the word was that Florida State was done because there were no more high school kids on the market, on the
Right.
open market that
Right.
Florida State was interested in. Now they go get a guy that they were already in love with that was just happened to be committed to USC. So I will ask you the secondary question. Do you think Florida State would still dip into the portal because this is, again, a high school player who's a bit of a project early on? Would Florida State still dip into the portal to round out its 2024 class? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to change what they're going to do. If say they see a hole there where a guy leaves or one of those three leave or somebody leaves where there's a hole there, yeah, they're going to go into the portal and they're going to address that. So I don't think it really adjusts or changes what their plan was if they feel like they need a portal, because I do think there was a select few of guys of high school. We mentioned ITT early in the process, and then we mentioned Jason Zandamela, who's also committed to USC. I mean, they've reached out to both of them. They've communicated with both of them. I do think Jason's probably going to stay there and be with USC, but I think they were going to still try. But outside of that, I think they were pretty much done once they got Daniels and Hilton. I think they've kind of put it down and say, hey, these are guys we want. If we get them, great. If we don't, we're going to go in there and we'll get what we need in the portal. So I think it lessens how many you have to take in the portal, but I don't think it changes that your attraction to the portal. I think they'll still add some guys.
So final question, Michael. Given that offensive line isn't the deepest position in the 24 class, what Florida State has been able to get in these three players, let's say they hold on to all three all the way through signing day, what letter grade would you give them?
Yeah, I think it would be probably a B plus for me. I think it's very good. I think I love ITT. I love guy like Ty Hilton. I think those are guys though that are second year guys that need a year in the system. I think Jonathan Daniels could probably help you early in the first year, just with depth purposes. Not saying he would start. I just think he would help you. You can insert him a little bit at certain spots, but I think it's a really solid B plus. And that's a really good grade. I know that's down for what people are used to with Alex Atkins, but it's a really strong class, and I think it's going to be even stronger in 2025. I've highlighted that many times that they feel very good about, three or four guys that are in the 2025 class that they lead for. I've covered them many times, but guys like Addison, Zaire Addison, a four-star offensive tackle, four-star Max Buchanan's another one they feel good for. And then the top guy I think they want is Solomon Thomas, who's out of Jacksonville Reigns. That's also a four-star. I think all three of them FSU sits in a very good spot with. And so I think their future at offensive line, what they're doing offensive line recruiting is good. I think I would give them a B plus, and I think it's exactly what they need, because you want guys that you can bring in that are you can develop them at your own pace, but at the same time, hey, if I want to throw a one or two portal guys in there, bam, you got it covered as far as the starters.
I promise we won't turn into a Carrot Top act with the props. But, Michael, you know how much I love the trenches, and fall camp is just around the corner. So, flippity-doo, Florida State from the
There you
West
go.
Coast to the East Coast. He's Michael Langston, the senior recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, Warchant TV. Check out Warchant.com for more comprehensive coverage. Florida State is a giant recruiting weekend last weekend in July. Charles Lester on July 28th. Could be some big news there for the Noles. We'll have you covered head to toe. He's Michael. I'm Tom. Hit the like button underneath the video. This is good news for Florida State, and we will talk to you on Warchant TV next.